Hello there, people of the internet. I am having quite the day, but I'm going to come out here and I'm going to record this video because, hey, even though I'm having quite the day, I still feel like coming to the gun range. So, guess what happened whenever I came out here? Just to, hammer in the last nail in the coffin. Guess what happened whenever I came out here? I was out here, and I had this right here, my SKS, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to come out here and send some 7.62x39 downrange at the steel, at the car, and I was like, I'm going to have a great time at the range and kind of, recuperate myself from the day, right? Well, I'm over here, and I'm setting up, right? And I've got, my ammunition over here, I've got my rifle over here, it's laying on the ground, and I'm, setting up the camera and whatnot, and I hear something start running behind me. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's not a dog. It doesn't sound like a cat. All of my cats are over there, and I know what my dogs sound like, and I'm like, that's not one of my animals. That's a problem. So I turn around, and there's this little pig, probably about, this big or so, 50 pounds maybe? And he's running across my gun range, and I'm like, oh my god, that is a golden opportunity. For someone like me who enjoys hunting, that is a golden opportunity. This pig running around on my property, on my gun range. I'm over here armed and ready to go, and I'm like, holy crap, it is right there. So I grab my SKS, and I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and let's snag us a pig. It's literally on my gun range, right? So I'm like, oh, wait a second, I need the ammunition. I got the ammunition over here. So I go to grab the ammunition, and whenever I'm grabbing at the ammunition, everything starts falling all over the place. I'm trying to load around and do this SKS as fast as possible, and this pig is just sprinting across my gun range. And I'm like, oh god, he's already over there now. I need to get ready to get on this guy. And within, 3 seconds, he was here running around and he was gone. And I was like, god damn it. Golden opportunity. I could have gotten myself a pig just then. Anyway, I'm still gonna come out and make a video because, hey, why not? Even after all of today, I lost that golden opportunity. But hey, I am gonna go to the gun store later on today, so we might find something worth finding. So I have made a couple of prepper, quote unquote prepper style videos. Not really prepper, but more like preparedness style videos where I talk about certain things to take into consideration whenever it comes to being ready for any sort of event. And I have had a couple of people tell me, yes, I am ready for that. I'm ready for the end of the world. Not necessarily from my videos, but in a real life situation as well, because I have a big arsenal of all sorts of different things. And I'll get people saying, hey, whenever the end of the world comes, I'm going to come to your house because I myself don't have any equipment. Or I'll have the people that come through and they'll say, hey, I have, this AR platform or this AK platform, or in one example, I had somebody tell me, I have me an SKS at home, and that is what I'm going to use to go into the end of the world. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm glad that you at least have your primary firearm for defensive purposes. But let's go ahead and discuss some other things. So, you have your firearm, and most of the time whenever I ask these people, you have your firearm, what sort of accessories do you have for it? How many magazines do you have for it? How much ammunition do you have for it? They'll tell me they got, a magazine's worth and maybe another box of 20 rounds, or maybe a box of 100 rounds, or some people even have a case of 1,000 rounds of ammunition for their AR, and they got the one magazine. Or they have the AR, but a lot of people will get the AR and not get any sort of sighting system on that AR, or not get a sling to attach to that AR, or not get a flashlight to attach to that AR. They'll get themselves an AK without a way to mount any kind of optics because they don't have any kind of rail system on it. Or they'll have the one magazine for the AK platform, or they'll get themselves an SKS like this right here, and they'll have the SKS and a box of 7.62x39 with no stripper clips to load it into the SKS. So I'm like, alright, you have the gun, what do you do next? Well, the first thing that you're going to do next is you're going to go ahead and look into getting some accessories for that firearm. Things that are necessary for you to be able to run that firearm a lot in a practical situation in the event that you have to run that firearm in a practical situation. For example, for the SKS right here, get yourself a bunch of SKS stripper clips so you can load this SKS a lot faster via stripper clip than you would single loading the thing. You'd be amazed. Well, maybe not you. If you're watching this channel, then you've probably seen the redundant nonsense much like I have seen myself. But there are a lot of people out there who decide to go with the SKS platform, and they'll get themselves a bunch of 7.62x39. They're like, yeah, this is what I'm using, and they have no stripper clips to be able to run that rifle. And they're going to go out there and just single load this rifle from their pocket of 7.62x39, and that is how they're going to reload. I will have people tell me, get like the AK style, the AK magazine adapter for the SKS, so you can run AK mags. Those are incredibly unreliable. The aftermarket magazines, incredibly unreliable. Don't bet your life on aftermarket stuff attached to your AK or attached to your SKS. Go out, get accessories to be able to run it, get a way to be able to carry those accessories. I actually have here, this is not something I was planning on putting in this video, but this right here is just a little chest rig that you can put on, and this one is not adjusted at all. Yeah, definitely not adjusted. I would want it probably about 6 inches lower. But you put this on, you tie it up, and now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 pouches, maybe a dozen pouches or so, where you can shove some SKS stripper clips, so you have a way to carry that ammunition other than inside of your pocket, and since they're on clips, you have a way to load it very quickly into the rifle. So you have yourself your rifle, you have yourself your primary defensive firearm, you have yourself your ammunition, you have yourself a means of loading that ammunition into the rifle nice and fast, other than just single loading the things, whether or not you're getting extra magazines for your AR or your AK or your Ruger Mini 14, your M14, I don't care what it is that you have, just get extra stuff for it so you can run it effectively. If you have yourself an SKS, rather than get a bunch of extra aftermarket magazines, have your one standard magazine that comes with the rifle, and then load it via stripper clip like the rifle was intended to be loaded, because that dramatically increases the reliability of the system, because you're staying with that original design of that system. And then after that, well, you have your gun, you got your stuff, what's next? Well, you got to ask yourself, what's next? Are you staying where it is that you are at, or are you going to be bugging out to somewhere else? If you are bugging out to somewhere else, how are you going to get there? How long are you going to stay there? How are you going to get your supplies from your current location to that location? Are there already supplies at that location? How many people do you have going to that location? What sort of security will you be able to provide at that location? How many people there will just be empty mouths to feed that cannot provide any skill sets or any sort of security, like small children or elderly people, or situations like that? How many people will be taking up calories that cannot provide any kind of skill set? How much water are you going to need for that particular area? How many pounds of what kind of food are you going to need for that particular area? How are you going to store that food for long term? How are you going to replenish those calories? I see a dog over there. I just saw someone or something moving across my field over there, and I was like, is that a pig? Oh, I hope it's a pig. No, it's not a pig. It's my dog. Definitely don't want to send lead down that way. But there's a lot to take into consideration. Mostly, like, start off with, are you staying where you're at, or are you going somewhere else? More often than not, people will decide to stay where they're at, unless where they're at becomes uninhabitable. Then they'll have a plan B, which is, the plan B bug out situation, where you go to some other place. Figure out where you're going, how you're going to get there, how many people are going to be there, how you're going to get food and water for that area, and how you're going to replenish that food and water. If your idea is to scavenge and hunt for nourishment and whatnot, depending on the area that you're in, there's probably going to be quite a few people doing that. I know during the Great Depression, game animals and whatnot for hunting purposes and fish dramatically decreased, and your likelihood of being able to gather these supplies dramatically decreased. And we have a lot more people now than we did during that time period. So I get the feeling that, especially with the United States cities and whatnot expanding, and hunting land getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and populations of these animals getting smaller and smaller and smaller, the likelihood of you being able to sustain yourself off of hunting will not last for very long. So you definitely want to start to consider more agricultural approaches if you're looking into something more long term. So figure out a way to get to where you're going. If you're going to go somewhere, figure out how to get your stuff there, figure out food and water for all of the people that are there, figure out the usefulness of the people that are there, the skill sets that they have, and whether or not they are worth having around in a long-term situation. A lot of time, emotion will base whether or not somebody will be around for a long-term situation. But sometimes you just got to kind of set your emotions aside if it means survival for you and your family and your loved ones. If you know, Todd from the office comes showing up and Todd doesn't have any useful skills besides using a printer, then maybe Todd needs to go away because he's not worth giving 2,500 calories a day to. But if Todd knows how to use a rifle and he can be put on sentry duty, then maybe he is. Or maybe Todd is into agriculture and he knows how to grow food and whatnot. Get with the people that will be accompanying you at wherever it is that you're going. This was on. Get with the people who will be accompanying you at wherever it is that you're going, and figure out their skill sets and their capabilities. If you have someone like me, who knows how to reload ammunition, and you have a finite amount of ammunition, and I can make ammo out of like nothing. You give me the brass and I can make you some ammunition. I can make the powder, I could just black powder. I can make the powder, I can make the projectiles, I got the molding, I got the equipment to be able to reload certain kinds of ammunition. We can go on to muzzle loaders if we absolutely need to, if we run out of the ability to use that brass. So we still have a way to send projectiles downrange. There's definitely some good skill sets out there to have. And you have to know what the skill sets of these particular people are. Like, if my only skill set was, hey, I know a lot about guns from World War II. Oh, fantastic. How many guns from World War II do you actually have, and how effective are you at using them? Well, I don't actually know anything because I've learned about these guns from World War II from Call of Duty. I get a lot of people in my comments section saying that they know absolutely nothing about guns, but they already know what they need to know because they've played video games and whatnot. So I'm going to send some 7.62x39 down at the range there because I feel like it. Alright, my steel is falling down and my car is smoking, and I tell you what, that was fantastic. There's just something about lobbing 7.62x39 downrange. But figure out your particular firearm as well. I know I was talking about more of a long-term situation, but I get a lot of people that come out, they're like, yeah, I have my rifle and I have the stuff. Have you zeroed your rifle? Do you know what your rifle likes and does not like? The ammunition that you're running, how much of it do you have? If you're running different kinds of ammunition, does your rifle like all of that different kinds of ammunition? If you have a 1-in-7 twist, maybe you don't want to run your 40 grain projectiles through that 1-in-7 twist because maybe your particular rifle will have them keyhole at 50 yards and you'll never hit your projectile, or you'll never hit your target with your projectile. Lots of things that you got to take into consideration. Like, for example, this SKS is not zeroed at all. Somebody played with the front sight, so I'm actually zeroed out for 500 meters with this thing whenever we're here shooting at about 30 yards or so, and even then it is still shooting a little on the low side. So that's just one of the things that I figured out with this rifle, and I figured it out from using it. I have not had issues with accuracy with this rifle, and I have not had issues with malfunctions with this rifle. And I've stuck quite a bit of 7.62x39 through this thing. Not as much as I would like, but quite a bit. So I have figured out this rifle, and I have done that through using it. I figured out where it hits. I figured out the elevation necessary to be able to zero this thing, although I do have, you know, a sight adjustment tool, and I should just take the 4 seconds it would take to screw this thing down so I get a proper, appropriate zero. But yeah, man, yeah, it's on the to-do list, I guess. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below, link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that stuff out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I guess I'll go ahead and just take a quick second to include logistical things with the ideas. If you have a group of people coming and they all have their own rifles, if you can manage to get the same kind of rifle that take the same parts, same mag, same ammo, definitely have some perks to you. Alright, I'm done rambling. I will see you on the next video.
while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.